It began with a strange silence. A vast stretch of Tennessee forest suddenly sealed off, fences rising where none had ever stood, patrols marching through untouched land. Families were ordered to leave. Roads were rerouted. Mail was redirected to mysterious P.O. boxes. And within weeks, a city appeared, one that officially did not exist. It was called Oak Ridge, but to the outside world it was nothing at all. Inside this new invisible city, thousands of workers arrived without knowing why. They were told only that their work would end the war. Houses sprang up overnight. Streets formed like the veins of a living organism. Schools, shops, and barracks filled with people who could not speak a word about what they did. Oak Ridge became a place where secrets were more common than sunlight. The air hummed with urgency. Military officers patrolled every gate. Scientists moved with quiet intensity. Teenagers operated machines without knowing what they produced. Every task was compartmentalized. Knowledge was forbidden. Curiosity dangerous. The city thrived on silence. And yet, Oak Ridge grew into one of the largest cities in Tennessee, despite officially having no name, no address, and no place on any map. It was the beating heart of a project so vast and terrifying that even those who built it could not imagine the power they were helping unleash. The Manhattan Project was no longer just an idea. It was a city, alive, growing, and hiding the deadliest secret in human history. The world had plunged into chaos, and fear drove the project forward. Hitler's scientists were rumored to be close to splitting the atom. American leaders panicked. If the Nazis built a nuclear weapon first, civilization itself could be erased. This fear became the spark that ignited the Manhattan Project. General Leslie Groves took command with iron authority. He moved fast, demanding what others said was impossible. Under his leadership, logistics bent, budgets evaporated, and rules dissolved. Scientists and soldiers found themselves swept into a force of nature, a project that devoured obstacles with relentless determination. Groves knew one thing: time was the real enemy. Every delay was a victory for the Axis powers. Every breakthrough brought America one step closer to ending the war. This urgency fueled the creation of Oak Ridge, Los Alamos, and Hanford, cities that emerged in secret, powered by the collective will of a nation desperate to survive. But speed came at a cost. No one fully understood the consequences. No one questioned the morality. The mission was clear: build the bomb before the enemy did. And so the world of science surrendered to the world of war. Humanity was racing toward a moment of irreversible transformation. Oak Ridge filled with people who did not know what they were part of. Young women from rural towns, machinists from faraway cities, chemists fresh out of college. They arrived carrying suitcases and questions. Only the suitcases were welcome. The questions were not. Posters lined the walls. Loose lips sink ships. Silence means security. Conversations were monitored. Letters were censored. Phone calls were tapped. Workers learned to speak carefully, to trust no one with their thoughts, to bury their curiosities deep. Yet their days were relentless. The machines roared day and night. Massive calatrons, giant electromagnetic separators, pulled uranium atoms apart in a process so secret even the workers feeding them didn't know their purpose. They followed instructions like choreography, turning knobs, checking meters, adjusting currents, unaware that they were enriching the uranium that would soon fuel an atomic explosion. When workers asked why the machines made strange noises or why the readings fluctuated at odd hours, supervisors responded with a single phrase: "Do your job." And they did. Without knowing it, these silent laborers became the backbone of the bomb. While Oak Ridge churned with secrecy, another world was forming high in the mountains of New Mexico. Los Alamos, another hidden city, but this one filled with some of the greatest minds in history. J. Robert Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist with a poetic soul, was appointed scientific leader. Oppenheimer gathered an army of geniuses: Fermi, Teller, Bethe, and hundreds more. Brilliant men and women who had fled fascism or risen through the ranks of American academia. They came for different reasons: fear of Hitler, belief in science, desire for discovery. But once inside Los Alamos, they found themselves united by a single goal. Theoretical equations turned into experiments. Experiments into designs. Designs into weapons. The pace was frantic, fueled by both fear and fascination. The scientists wrestled with problems no human had ever faced. Could a bomb ignite the atmosphere? Could it split the world in two? These questions were whispered late at night, haunting even the most hardened minds. Oppenheimer walked the corridors like a man carrying the future on his shoulders. He pushed his team relentlessly, knowing that if they failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. But he also felt a growing unease. They were creating something monstrous, and he knew it. Los Alamos became a sanctuary of brilliance and a cradle of destruction. Back in Oak Ridge, the secret weapon of the project wasn't uranium. It was women. Thousands of young women, many barely out of high school, operated the complex electromagnetic machines that separated uranium isotopes with uncanny precision. They were chosen because they were patient, detail-oriented, and willing to follow instructions exactly. Male physicists had tried running the machines but struggled with overthinking. The women, meanwhile, performed like clockwork. Supervisors marveled at their error-free operation. But the women themselves had no idea they were producing enriched uranium. They joked about the strange dials, the humming noise, the occasional sparks that flew from the machinery. They created workarounds, shared snacks, played music during shifts, and built friendships in a city where they weren't allowed to talk about anything real. Their lives were simple on the surface, but beneath that simplicity lay a profound irony. They were unknowingly creating the fuel for the most destructive weapon ever built. Years later, many would weep when they learned what their hands had contributed to. Oak Ridge was a study in contradictions. Bars and dances offered moments of escape, while guards and fences reminded residents that freedom was an illusion. Scientists earned high salaries, yet many lived in cramped government huts. The city was bustling, but every conversation felt careful, measured, watched. Class and gender divisions ran deep. Men held positions of authority, while women filled administrative and operational roles. White workers received better housing than black workers, who were restricted to poorly constructed shacks without indoor plumbing. They lived under stricter surveillance and harsher rules. Yet despite these injustices, Oak Ridge operated with astonishing efficiency. The city consumed power on a scale unimaginable at the time, more electricity than New York City. Its reactors hummed day and night. Its population swelled beyond 70,000. And still the outside world knew nothing. In a single hidden valley, America was forging the weapon that would end one war and begin a new era of fear. By 1944, the pressure became unbearable. The war raged on. American soldiers were dying in Europe and the Pacific. Leaders demanded results. Groves pushed his teams harder. Oppenheimer slept less. Mistakes that once seemed mild now carried the weight of life and death. Scientists argued over calculations. Engineers debated designs. Every setback felt like a betrayal. Every breakthrough a miracle. The question that hovered over all of them remained the same. Would it work? Competing designs, Little Boy and Fat Man, were tested, redesigned, and reimagined. The physics was brutally complex. No one had ever built anything like this. The pressure didn't just weigh on the mind, it seeped into the bones. They were creating a weapon that could end the war in a single instant. Or fail and doom the world to a darker future. Not everyone in the secret cities was loyal to the American mission. Hidden among the workers and scientists was a network of Soviet spies. The most significant was Klaus Fuchs, a brilliant physicist at Los Alamos who quietly passed critical information to the Soviet Union. Fuchs blended in perfectly. Polite, brilliant, hardworking, he raised no suspicion. But behind the calm exterior lay a man who believed that no single nation should control such destructive power. He funneled secrets, diagrams, and equations through covert channels. His actions would later accelerate the Soviet atomic program, ensuring that the nuclear age would not be dominated by the United States alone. Even as America raced to build the first atomic bomb, another race had secretly begun. The Cold War was being born long before anyone realized it. By mid-1945, the bomb was nearly complete. The fear that had driven the project so fiercely now transformed into something else. Doubt. What if it didn't work? What if it worked too well? What if it destroyed more than intended? What if it destroyed everything? The decision was made to conduct a test in the dry deserts of New Mexico. They called it Trinity. The bomb was assembled like a sacred ritual, carefully, meticulously, with trembling hands. Scientists stood in awe of the device that combined their brilliance and their nightmares. Oppenheimer's eyes lingered on it longer than anyone's. He understood better than anyone what was at stake. The future of warfare. The nature of power. The limits of humanity. The countdown began. And the world unknowingly approached the moment that would divide history into before and after. At 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, darkness turned to daylight. A sphere of fire erupted into the sky with a force so immense that mountains trembled and windows shattered miles away. A shockwave raced across the desert, flattening everything in its path. The mushroom cloud rose like a titan awakening. The men who witnessed it stood speechless. Some cheered. Some gasped. Some cried. A few fell to their knees. They had seen the birth of a star on Earth. Oppenheimer watched silently, his face illuminated by the inferno. In that moment he recalled a line from the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. The test was a success. Too great a success. Humanity had crossed a threshold from which it could never return. With the bomb proven, the question shifted from can we build it, to should we use it? The war in the Pacific showed no sign of ending. The Japanese military vowed to fight to the last soldier. American casualties were expected to soar if an invasion took place. Political leaders faced an impossible dilemma: end the war quickly or prolong the bloodshed. President Truman approved the plan. The bombs would be used. No demonstration. No warning. The world would see the full force of atomic destruction. For many working in the secret cities, the decision remained hidden. They did not know their work was complete until the day they heard the news. On August 6, 1945, the uranium bomb, powered by the fuel enriched at Oak Ridge, fell over Hiroshima. The explosion leveled the city in seconds. Tens of thousands died instantly. Fires consumed everything. The sky turned black, then red, then silent. Shock rippled through the world. Scientists in Los Alamos listened to the reports with a mixture of horror and awe. Workers in Oak Ridge stared at newspapers, realizing for the first time what they had helped build. War had entered a new age. And the world trembled. 3 days later, a second bomb, powered by plutonium, fell on Nagasaki. The city vanished beneath a column of fire. Japan surrendered soon after, unable to withstand the devastation. The Manhattan Project had ended the deadliest war in history. But it had also introduced humanity to its most terrifying invention. Scientists who once celebrated now felt the weight of guilt. Workers who had joked during their shifts now cried privately. Even military leaders understood that a power had been unleashed that could not be contained. Victory tasted hollow. After the war, Oak Ridge was finally revealed to the world. Newspapers marveled at the massive city that had appeared from thin air. Families learned what their loved ones had been doing. Workers learned the true purpose of their jobs. The public discovered that the weapon reshaping the world had been born in a hidden valley. Los Alamos opened its gates too, slowly, cautiously. Scientists debated their legacy. Some defended their work as necessary. Others condemned it as unforgivable. Many simply lived with the contradiction, unable to reconcile the brilliance of their achievement with the horror of its consequences. The Manhattan Project became a symbol of both triumph and tragedy, a testament to human ingenuity and a warning of its potential for destruction. The legacy of Oak Ridge and the Manhattan Project lives on in every conversation about nuclear power, every treaty, every standoff, every fear of annihilation. The people who built the bomb lived with the knowledge that their hands shaped the modern world. The project proved humanity's brilliance and exposed its fragility. It showed how fast science could advance, and how slowly wisdom followed. The secret city built more than a weapon. It built a new era, one where the fate of nations could be decided in an instant. The Manhattan Project created a world where power and peril walk hand in hand. A world forever altered by a city that wasn't supposed to exist. A city that built the bomb.